everyone. Welcome back to AWS On Air. My name is Jeff Marushak. I'm a senior solutions architect on AWS's DoD Air Force team, and we are live at reInvent 2022, Las Vegas, Nevada, at the beautiful Venetian. And I'm joined here with my co-host, AM. AM, what's going on, man?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm AM Grabelli. I'm a dev advocate. I've been sitting in this chair for a while now. Very excited to be here. We're wrapping things up at reInvent. You know, a little sad, single tear.
But let's take it. It's the white flag, the last lap. Let's make it count. That sprint. Let's do it.
All right, but we've got a new friend here, John, from the financial services industry. John, tell us about yourself, please.
Sure. Jeff, thanks. I'm John Kain. I lead the market development efforts in financial services, which my team gets to work with our customers globally, kind of helping drive adoption from an industry perspective.
Great. So, speaking of the financial services industry, what sort of trends are you seeing with customers as you've been going around with reInvent this week?
Yeah, it's been an exciting week. I think there's like three things to really take away from this week. Certainly from an industry perspective, we're seeing that drive all the way through the pandemic about really financial services becoming more frictionless and more personalized. And so much of the competition between firms is how they can effectively use data to make their customer experience so much more better. And I mean that broadly, not just what you're looking for on the mobile screen, but your ability to get decisions from a credit or investment perspective almost immediately. Secondly, this industry is moving some of the most core workloads to the cloud that we wouldn't have thought possible 3-4 years ago. Our customers are doing the really hard things, moving exchanges, looking at clearing and settlement, core banks, decommissioning mainframe applications, things that are really hard, but our customers have demonstrated they're doing successfully. And then lastly, everybody's thinking about security and compliance because it's financial services.
Yeah.
Right.
And so there's a lot of information sharing between our customers on how to do that well. Very few people worry about technically how to do security, but building a really well-governed, compliant architecture and evidencing that, super important. Our customers are just great about sharing that information with each other.
Yeah, I mean, once upon a time, it's been many years now, but I worked actively with financial service companies out in New York, of course, John.
Great place,
right?
yeah.
Right? You've been?
All the time.
Just kidding. But I know firsthand there are unique challenges to financial service customers, specifically in legal and compliance, right? Those are some very difficult hurdles to get over in tech because often the tech moves faster than the law does. Are there any standout customer stories, of particular challenges, not just legal and compliance, but any challenges that our customers have solved with AWS?
When I think about those kind of critical workloads that we talked about, it was last year that NASDAQ announced it was moving a matching engine to the cloud. So when you think about like a really regulated workload, running a regulated exchange on cloud infrastructure, really challenging. Yet, less than a year, it's in production now. They've beginning trading on it. They'll have their migration complete before the end of the year. And that's just an indication that those critical systems can be run on AWS.
Right.
Just before reInvent, the Options Clearing Corporation, who's responsible for the clearing and settlement, like all options trades in the US and managing that risk in the industry, they went to their regulator and they got that, no concerns with us, start moving to the cloud.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and so you can see that even from a regulatory compliance, these most complex workloads are successfully being moved to the cloud. But I think what's really more interesting is probably what customers are doing with the data, right? Because so many of the real examples this week were like how you can improve the customer experience.
Right.
Like JP Morgan was talking both in their bank internationally in the UK and here in the US about how they were combining sort of the ability to kind of get information from Amazon Connect, right? Pull that in with like transcribe and comprehend to actually look at transcriptions about what customers are saying, and then leveraging SageMaker from a machine learning perspective to actually make it a more personalized experience as soon as you picked up the phone, right? And we see that across multiple customers. NatWest was very much talking about the same thing. You saw Resolution Life in the insurance place use serverless and no code to make everything more frictionless. So there's so much innovation from a data and machine learning perspective. It's super exciting to see.
It's funny you mentioned data because earlier on AWS On Air, we interviewed our friends at Capital One.
Yeah.
And they are building, or have built rather, Slingshot, right? Which is this massive data initiative because they're very good at building software, right? And building software on the cloud with AWS is their expertise. And now they're offering that to other companies facing the same data problems that they faced. So I think data is obviously a huge trend in the financial services industry.
Yeah, no, and I think not only is data so key, but a little bit like you mentioned, like Capital One taking their expertise and making that available broadly to the industry.
Right.
We're seeing other financial services firms do the same thing, almost making financial services available like cloud, right? So
like a financial open source community.
Exactly. Well, a little bit more like, instead of like calling, I want compute on demand, look, I want KYC on demand. I want to know who that customer is and should I let them in? Or, hey, can you process this payment for me? So you see really cool new business models, like Solaris Bank in Germany being an open banking provider. So they're a bank, but they really don't serve as customers. They provide their APIs to fintechs and other non-banks to bring financial services directly to the point of sale, right? And so that ability to interact with customers without having a financial services institution in between kind of eases that like experience for customers. And it's exciting to see the industry kind of take its own expertise and make it available to our customers on top of AWS.
Well, I know that's with the crypto coming popular, that was sort of the thing, to kind of get rid of the banks, but have that infrastructure there, the banks without the institution, but maybe some of this can have some more security around an open banking type of thing.
Almost all the customers that we work with are highly regulated.
Yeah.
And so a good amount of the time we kind of work with them is primarily on the technology side, but that helps them drive compliance within their own organizations. And you'll actually see a number of re:Invent announcements that are directly related to making that easier for customers.
Yeah, let's hear about it.
Like from SageMaker, right? Fantastic platform. We're seeing thousands of models to be deployed within the financial services environment. But to do that, you have to have a really well-regulated process to understand, how am I using machine learning? Is it appropriate? Is my model drifting? I got the right approvals, and should I kind of redeploy? And increasingly, you're seeing SageMaker add those management capabilities to make that more elegant, right? When you see sort of the ability to kind of add into SageMaker, the ability to kind of actually do that business information about how the model was designed and governed, and then creating dashboards to kind of see that broadly, it just allows that to be much more effectively
We talked with the data wrangler folks earlier about preparing your data, one of the toughest but yet most important pieces of designing your model. Absolutely.
We literally just finished talking to Jumpstart on SageMaker 2, which is how to enable sharing models across your organization. Right? That's not easy to do in a highly regulated industry like
but
the
to kind of create that framework to do it and then enable developer productivity once that platform is in place, it just helps make the challenge easier. A little bit like the control tower announcements on the governance and compliance side, one of the great things is that we've had customers that have been really good about sharing best practices in that area. And Control Tower has begun to allow them to automate that more quickly. I think the new capabilities from a proactive control management perspective, making sure you're governed before you deploy those scripts into production, really just kind of speeds up that process. Nothing's as unhappy as like, oh, I did something, built it, deployed, oh, that failed, right? Knowing upfront early in the process. And I think that ability for our customers to share that experience at scale is things like Control Tower kind of brings to the table.
Great.
Now, I want to ask, I've asked all of our industry interviews that I've been on at least, if I'm new to the financial services industry, I'm interested in breaking into the financial, do you have any tips for anybody looking to join the industry?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Thank you.
Yeah, one of the things I really love about financial services, it's this wonderful combination of human psychology and math, right?
Yeah.
When you think about what we do from financial services, a little bit of magic, right? You give me money, short term, I'll give you like return on demand, but I'm managing that long term and understanding how that risk and how that kind of affects the overall like financial services and psychology of people, they're so intertwined that it's really interesting because the math is interesting, but the fundamental concepts about how people interact also super interesting, right?
Applied mathematics to human psychology,
exactly.
right?
Which is why it's fun to talk about.
Well, unfortunately, we can't talk anymore because we got to move on to the next segment. But thank you so much for joining us.
And Jeff, absolute pleasure. Thank you. This flew by, and re:Invent's almost coming to an end.
Me too. But stick around because we're going to be right back with more here at AWS On Air.